long, so let's go. All right, this is the office as I remembered it. It's 22nd February, 1:11 p.m. Naruhodo Consultancy. Oh, we made it back in one piece. Just... To be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. Oh, I know. What a lot of chaos. What a lot of close shaves. There are so many carriages on the street of London. We were very nearly flattened several times. Oh. No, I didn't mean that. Naruhodo! Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense, Naruhodo-san. It really was. I was in awe of you. Oh, thank you. And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can't find some new clues for court tomorrow. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose I still can't quite believe it. That's all. That I'm here in England, working as a lawyer, I mean. In the Old Bailey, no less. Oh, I know what talk we're gonna have very shortly. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him, standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma. Oh, I'm gonna be tooting this thing a lot. I'm tooting this thing a lot today. It was Kazuma-sama's wish that you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him. Yes, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. This whole conversation! And you're doing wonderfully, Naruhodo-san. I've no doubt that Kazuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here with us. Thank you, Susato-san. Thank you. This whole conversation is going to get to me. All right, I gotta press this thing again. Perhaps we should put this spade away somewhere. That's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose materials. It's a shovel. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? You're so right, Naruhodo-san. We mustn't quarrel over such trifles. On reflection, then, I think I'll leave this spade where it is. Yes, I think that's for the best. We may need a shovel when we're working in the garden. Okay, you two. Oh, is that it? Is that all I get to examine? I heard that there's another room behind that door. Yes, it's my bedroom, Naruhodo-san, as you well know. Shall I help you unpack your things? That's very kind, but thank you. But no thank you. Your luggage looked very heavy. Are you sure I can't help you move it? Can't help you move it? That's very kind, but really, no thank you. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. The only secret I have is the 5-yen banknote hidden on the backside of my Daruma doll. Thanks for sharing. I'm gonna take your money now. These tanks are for keeping sea creatures. They're called aquariums, and they were all the rage in London at one time, apparently. Yes. The English are so clever, coming up with the idea of having ocean life on display in the home. And it means you always have an emergency midnight feast on hand, too. I'm not sure that's really the idea. You're gonna feast on anemones and sea cucumbers? Or whatever, sea slugs, Naruhodo? Present the armband. You've been wearing that ever since we arrived in Great Britain, haven't you? Well, it's what shows that I'm a lawyer, so It seems appropriate. I'm not sure that it really means much in this country, though, I'm afraid. I wouldn't say that. It might not be official, but it looks official. Often when the police stop me, I just show them this and they leave me alone. You're stopped by the police? Often? Well, you know, I'm a suspicious foreigner, dressed all in black with a sword at my side. I do think it's probably the sword that's the main reason. Still, it makes me happy to see you wearing it, and the armband. Yes, I've made up my mind that I'll carry them always. This symbol of who I am, and the sword Karuma. Oh no, Kazuma's wishes! I saw that! It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand. I know. Not only that, but then finding out that he is actually a barefaced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Soseki-san's poisoning the tea. I think I just read one of Naruhodo's things as, Susato? My bad? Careful of your phrasing, Susato-san. He didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Mr. Shamspear than we yet know. I'm sure of it. Mr. Shamspear certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Let me see. Ah yes, he's at St. Bartholomew's, or Bart's as Londoners call it. We know that place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Green there yesterday. It's the same hospital to which she was taken. Ah yes, after Soseki-san stabbed her in the back. Do be careful of your phrasing, Naruhodo-san. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Soseki-san an apology. St. Bartholomew's. Yeah, we should probably visit the hospital later. I don't. It's not even the kazoo. I don't want to go to that one. So, we know that Soseki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspear's body? Shamspear's. I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspear's room that will help solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already. But it couldn't hurt us to have another look around, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Okay. It's not so much, like, again, it's not so much the kazoo part, it's just the subject. Kazuma Asogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. Are you gonna play a song? No, you're gonna play the sad one! And I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court. Okay, can I even do this one? Okay, I can. And then after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. I'm sorry, I just destroyed your song. As a stowaway? Yes. You can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through the trial. That you really ought to go into law. Be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it. Believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is a cultural capital of the world. The city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day. One day what? Oh, no. Never mind. Sir! Sir! Naruhodo-san? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about Kazuma. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts too. Yeah, you're destroying me because I have to play the kazoo when you're all thinking about him. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better. That was his dream. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right. But... I wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know. The thought just takes hold of me every now and then. That's all. Oh my god, we're still going? Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? It's the sword! I mean this. His katana? I never expected to inherit the sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karma. That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. Do you even know what it is, Naruhodo? I knew you wouldn't let me down. Honey, do you know what it is, though? What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I hope that the answer to that question will become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet, I've not found a single clue. I see. Okay. Are we done? Okay, that's enough kazooing now. I just destroyed that moment. Look. I'm only doing this to a certain point in the game, okay? How about we go downstairs? The 22nd of February. Show 'em sweet. Oh, I'm sure I'm gonna make so many people angry when they watch the VODs later and be like, what the frick?
Oh, Runo and Susie! Hooray, you're back!
Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see.
I am! And you look as immaculately present as ever, Susie.
Oh, you flatter me.
Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I just made a pot of tea. I'll set some chips.
Really? Thanks, Iris. But actually, what is that foul smell? Ah, the Wonders return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? Oh my god.
I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Sholmes.
You have to remind him like every hour. I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really, I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zeek's an acquaintance, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still.
Mr. Sholmes, whatever is that odor?
Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed. That's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science.
Oh dear.
Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? I don't know, but let's present the badge again. I mean the armband. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, about this. Is this gonna be the same dialogue? Shh, not another word. Ah, yes, I see. This would be a collar for... Okay, that's the same dialogue. Hot disaster indeed. Lord Baroque Van Zeeks. Yes, it's an interesting subquit. Subrequit. He has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed. Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts, sooner or later the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? By falling under a passage carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue, being set upon by a highwayman. There are numerous routes to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. Well, technically, Soseki left London. He's alive, but, you know, he still technically left the capital. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Mustache is fighting fit. For the time being, at least. That's not overly reassuring.
If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zeek's own hand.
As it happens, Mr. Susato, that is quite impossible.
Oh? Why?
Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occur, the Reaper always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived, when I was thrust into the trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection. And really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again.
Poor Runo. I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky, or incredibly unlikable.
Ooh. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. Well, first, what is this foul smell? So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Ah, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea.
Oh my!
There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drabbed flavor. Well, that certainly is unsavory behavior. So, when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris?
At the ready, Hurley.
Let us add a drop of biochemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? It turned completely black.
And what a foul odor it's giving off.
Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes and the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious. But what do you do with that black liquor now? Liquid. Why, dispose of it naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? No, actually.
There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes.
Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam. Right. The point is, we are entering a new era of science. In the world of criminal investigation also.
Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times.
I regularly engage in the scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Sherlock Sholmes method would be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based. Hi, Suki! This little tea indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. This is like foreshadowing for Case 5, isn't it? Forensic science? I suppose I should find out more about that. With Mr. Natsume, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese as well as Miss Susato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Ziek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese. Oh, indeed. It is an interesting observation.
Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Sholmes?
You do! You're just not gonna tell us! It was about 10... Oh, he did! Okay! It was about 10 years ago that Baroque Van Zieks chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan.
No!
What the... Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? So, consider this. He knew all this stuff before Case 5, because this thing is supposed to take place before the 5th case in the first game. I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair.
Oh, but...
The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. Thanks for being a tease, Sherlock. So, your tea test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. Emma Sky would be so proud and happy right now, an essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels here. I hadn't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course.
Does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes?
There are others in that field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. Ooh, that's sick burn. No, what I am researching is skin prints. Skin prints? A nomenclature of my own design, as is this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation.
Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes.
As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in actions very soon indeed. At the crime scene? Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues.
That's the spirit, Runo. See you later.
Yes, until later. No, Mr. Sholmes, we're thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course. You said so just a moment ago. You said we'd witness your forensic talents in action. Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later. In all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye-bye, Susie.
Well, we're not going anywhere yet. Let's examine stuff. Yeah! It's curious how this enormous metal chest is being used as a coffee table. And even more curious to think that Iris's father's notes about Mr. Sholmes' cases are inside it.
You mustn't look in there, Runo. Those notes are a secret between Daddy and me.
And Mr. Sholmes isn't somehow in on the secret?
Hurley tends to forget, you see, as soon as he solves a case, in fact. Once when he read one of my manuscripts, we had a terrible argument about it. Never have I solved such a case, he said. He was absolutely adamant. Sometimes I wonder if he's from another planet, don't you?
Oh, sometimes I wonder he's from another planet. Sorry, that was Naruhodo. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we've arrived in the country, in fact. Although, I do yearn for a Japanese kotatsu. Putting your legs under a warm, blanketed table is so comforting. It sounds comforting.
Do be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? You'd suffer terrible burns, you know.
I worry sometimes about how Susato-san sees me. Look at all these mementos of Mr. Sholmes' past case. You know, Miss Susato's eyes still sparkle every time she lays eyes on them.
But yours don't, do they, Runo?
Well, I have read The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes now, by order of Miss Susato. See, he's read them! But the trouble is, I haven't seen the real thing in action. Somehow the stories don't quite ring true to me.
Well, he does solve the cases, in the end.
I suppose so. Perhaps there's more to the great detective than meets the eye. Anything. Oh. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high. I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment.
It looks as though it might topple, and yet it doesn't. The epitome of Mr. Sholmes' brilliance.
I don't get it. As it happens, I'm quite well practiced when it comes to stacking shelves myself. Just the other day, the shelf in my office finally gave way under the strain, though.
It looks as though it might topple, and it does. Yes, the epitome of your disarray.
I really don't get it. It's like, how does Shom do it? Oh, he's at the device. This enormous machine takes up the entire desk, doesn't it? It's really very imposing.
Ah, Hurley's great analyscope. Yes, it's an analyst anything at all, you know. It analyzes anything.
But I've never seen anyone actually using it. I mean, Shom's doing it.
Well, it's his invention, so I don't know how to operate it.
Why don't you get it to analyze its own operation, then?
Oh, Runo, you're razor sharp today, aren't you?
Mr. Sholmes seems to be making funny faces at something on his desk. I thought he said he was going to come with us to Mr. Shakespeare's room.
No doubt he's preparing something, Mr. Naruhodo. Something amazing.
Or he's sleeping.
And he's doing it while asleep. Is there no limit to the man's talents?
Okay, Susato, whatever you say. This is Mr. Sholmes' famous violin. The one he found being sold for a song at a pawnbrokery. What's it called again? A shodi something?
Oh yes, this wonderful instrument features in The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. It's a world-famous Stradivarius.
What?
Stradivarius, Mr. Naruhodo.
Stragivor...
Are you even trying now?
We'll come back to this another time, I think. Wait, hold on, there's that... Okay, I was like, there's a check mark or no check mark? And Iris is typing away. Ah yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? So, what's on the blackboard today? Buck up, Bruno. What is this?
Oh, I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of next month's installment. Another idea I had was the barrel coronet. I'm really torn about which one to use. What do you think, Bruno?
Anything but buck up Bruno, obviously.
I suppose you're right. I tell you what, I'll surprise you with it. You'll have to wait until next month and see.
Ugh, so many sleepless nights. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles too.
Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode.
A charming shelf full of charming bottles full of charring ingredients.
You know, Hurley mistakenly drank from one of them the other day.
What? And how?
I think he was lucky, though. He hasn't exploded yet. Chemistry can be a very hazardous occupation.
It's living with Mr. Sholmes that's the hazard occupation, if you ask me. It always strikes me how pretty and neatly arranged this tea set is.
It's my favorite one. In fact, I think it's high time for afternoon tea. Wait here. I'll fetch the special blend that I've prepared for today.
Oh, Iris, you do love your tea, don't you? She looks so happy at the prospect.
And after you drunk it, I'll collect some experimental data, if that's all right.
Just what is she about to make me drink? Absolute concern. If I remember correctly, this large and imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter.
To think that every single one of the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes blossomed from this very machine.
Oh yay, cool! No, there's 10. You are not tabbing to the you have to go to select adventure and then tab to the second game.
Oh, it's such a dreamy thought.
I actually had a go on it the other day. The middle bars that move when you hit the keys got all tangled up somehow, and that made Iris angry.
Mr. Naruhodo, you're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Please don't do that again.
Ugh. Now I've made Susato-san angry as well. Iris? She's tapping away. That's incredible concentration, that is.
I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once.
Perhaps I should try drinking more herbal tea.
The blend third from the right would be good for you, Runo.
Oh, Iris? This girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. Genius. Okay, we're done examining. Let's move. 22nd of February, St. Bartholomew's Hospital, recovery ward. Are they here?
What do you suppose is happening?
They are!
It sounds like some sort of disturbance.
Yes, I hear angry voices. Hey, we got the scene! Excellent! This is entirely optional, right? The scene here? Be not angry, O ample lady. Verily, thou art mistaken.
Mistaken, my foot. You were looking at my painting.
The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed, the poison that mustached villain gaveth me. Forgive me, lady.
I wished that you died from that poison.
God a mercy, ample lady. But thou seest, I have vigor still. Behold, my Shakespeare dance. Oh dear God.
This looks rather ominous, doesn't it?
Lo, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence riseth the sun. How now? What are you doing here, Mr. Shakespeare? Mary, I do believe I am returned unto another ward.
He was looking. That's what he was doing. Looking at my terrible work.
Eastern fellow, so darkly clad. Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee. Oh, well, thank you. But, that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? He seems to have broken off his Shakespearean talking. Anon, Ezuant. And exit stage left. Mr. Sam Spear might technically be the victim in this case, but there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person.
Miss Green, is everything alright?
Oh, yes. I mean, don't worry about me.
Okay.
They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now.
Oh, I see.
We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it.
We cannot talk to her right now, but that was just an extra scene that you can get. So let's go to Shamspeare's room. So 22nd of February, Mr. Natsumi's lodging, ground floor. Oh, Gregson, hello. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually.
The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, I know the score. Oh, yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it? With the tea in it? Yeah, we found it, all right. There was a small amount of tea in it, like, as you said. I knew it. It's with the identification section at the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today.
That's wonderful news. Thank you.
Are you gonna grumble, Gregson? Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry? You're admitting it? Nothing. Forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here. He complimented Naruhodo. Shocking. Holmes! I'm having a moment. What the heck? Whatever. Just Holmes.
So it turns out that Mr. Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap after all.
That's right. The mystery of why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork in his hand is solved.
Yes, to prize his latest ice coin out of its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two.
It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. The ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night.
During their heated literary debate, yes.
Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? It sounds like it was quite a discussion.
Now I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison.
That's fiction, Miss Susato. Let's hope it stays that way. The sun never shines in this room, thanks to that depressed, bricked-up window.
Yet, with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap outside, can't you?
That sounds like a very wise life lesson, Miss Susato.
Only if you plan to follow a life of crime, Mr. Naruhodo.
If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh.
That's true, but if you think about it, even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change.
London's winters can be very harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato-san and I are going to make it to spring.
That's true. We don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove.
Look how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there.
Yes, from all the water dripping out after the ice coins melted, as you established in court this morning.
It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it?
Mr. Shamspear must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose.
It was an ingenious idea. I'll give him that. I'm not talking to you yet, Sholmes.
Are you looking for new clues, Inspector?
On Lord Van Zeke's orders, yeah. Don't come back till you've got something for me, he says.
Oh dear, poor you.
Does he cut your salary too?
Yeah, poor me, because we've already searched every bleeding nook and cranny in this place. I don't know what he expects, to be honest. Thank goodness for warm chips is all I can say.
Well, at least he's honest. Alright, let's talk to Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you up to over there?
What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Oi! What are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems.
Is now the time, Mr. Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised?
With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madam.
Ah, he put on the mask! That's so good. What's all this? That's so cool.
All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo.
I want to take a screenshot of this.
Herlock Sholmes' sensational skin print Seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim.
Don't mind me taking a ton of screenshots because we're never going to get this. A sample from Mr. Shamspear's cup?
Each individual leaves microscopic secretions at everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this. A refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touches is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on.
This is literally the invention of liminal testing.
There. Now spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed.
Spray? How do I do that exactly?
A little press of A on the area you're interested in is all that's required. Like this. Poof.
What is that stuff? It's like fog.
A suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. There was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this area.
As you do.
Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question.
Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Let's explore.
Poof. Poof.
Oh, look at all this here.
Ah, yes. Interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints.
Why are there so many of them on the floor in this one spot?
Oh, perhaps he had a bad fall just here.
There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there?
I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over.
I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes.
Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor.
Yes, there's no obvious explanation. Look, there are dozens of handprints here.
So there are. A great many indeed. So much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact.
Oh, it sends a chill down my spine.
Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture?
Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene, after all. And without wishing to state the obvious,
you wouldn't generally admire a picture with such close quarters, I feel.
Oh, very true, Mrs. Susato. It's a bit of a mystery, then. Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we?
We did, but there are 2 places in particular that are of interest, I would say.
The handprints on the floor there. And on the wall by the picture, you mean?
Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment.
Ah! What is it, Miss Susato?
Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. One of the floorboards has popped out.
One of the... You mean... It's a secret hiding place? Excellent work, Mr. Susato. So, what do we have in there? Oi! What are you lot doing? Inspector Gregson. Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there. No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips while we dig around under the floor here. Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need. Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find.
It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift the straw to Tommy Mat.
No, I know. But I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering about the wall over there, too. Aren't you curious?
Oh! I'll investigate at once. There's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall.
How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints?
I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that.
There you are, a print for you. Photograph of the handprints on the wall have been traces of handprints on the wall discovered using the skin print seeker gun. There are multiple prints on either side of a hanging picture. Oh, thank you very much. This adventure can make prints too? Now then, I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor there. I'm desperate to know.
So am I.
Sir, are you done looking down there? I'd love to know if there's anything hidden underneath the floorboard there. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Are you... Yeah, maybe not in the way you think, sir. Inspector Gregson. Really, it's been too long. What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there. Seeing as we're such good friends. Well, not friends. No, I suppose not. Sholmes! A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. Ugh, I killed to know what was under the floorboard. Can you, finish up faster, Gregson? I would like to know, too. Alright, then. Fair's fair. What? You did discover the hiding place, after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in. Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather. Oi, stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? All of it! Looks like this was cut out of a paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester. How terrible. It made the headlines down here in London as well. The bloke had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first.
Oh my goodness! He committed a capital offense?
Man by the name of Sheldon. Oh, well, that's still the same, Sheldon. Nasty piece of work. Into burglary and murder. They say the hoard he knocked off was worth about £1,000. A hoard?
A treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like. But he hidden it somewhere, and no one knows where. And now he's dead. The papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline. Does it not strike you, though? Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor? I guess he was looking for it? I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we got on Selden back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up. Capital offender article. A newspaper article about Selden, a criminal sentenced to receive the death penalty. However, he died of illness in prison while his loot remained undiscovered. So, this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonably recent to me. Oh no! It's that boy that we saw in the picture that was in Green's, room area. Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here. And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Garrett, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Garrett's son, perhaps? Perhaps you can take that print if you like. Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Is that true? Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work. All the more reason I'm not telling you. I'm assuming yes, I think that's what the pun is. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. Hidden photograph. A photographic print found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. It shows the landlord, Mr. Garrett, together with a young man. I wonder, why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor? I mean, Mr. Shamspeare himself isn't in it. Photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Garrett was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it. Now this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it? Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be in the least surprised. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shamespeare! Give us a clue, man! You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. Yes, thin air. It's empty. Rather like how I feel inside. Oh, Naruhodo. Is there nothing more to this box then? I wonder. The cat! Why? They didn't need to do this, but they did anyway, and I appreciate it. Cat! Cat!
Oh, look! It's that lovely little kitty cat. What was its name?
This is where we Christian it. It's Mr. Natsumi's, isn't it? I don't think we've ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsumi refers to himself in Japanese. I wonder how he got in here. Clever cat.
Oh, wonderful. Well then, Wagahai, here's something delicious I bought for you from the cat's meat man. Oh, meow.
So cute! Oh my god! So cute! Oh, it's sleeping now! And Garrus is back on the floor. He couldn't be happier now. Look, why is she a he though? I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner too. Now if you look at the cat, he's going to stretch. Look at him stretch. He stretched for us. So
cute.
God, Takumi, this is so unnecessary! That was a cheeky little meow, Wagahai.
Oh, but he's so adorable. I could sit and watch him forever.
That's it, guys. We're just gonna sit here and talk to the cat for the rest of this, the rest of my playthrough. I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation to get back to. Oh, so cute. Oh, I don't think there's anything else in here, though. Okay, well, bye, Wagahai! Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. Said 22nd February, Briar Road. There's nothing here. I think I've examined everything anyway. Okay, where are we going now? Gyarados?
Mr. Gyarados appears to be out.
Huh. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Okay, he's not here either. No. Let's talk to Soseki? 22nd February, local prison, cell 9.
Oh, Mr. Natsume is back.
So he is. Mr. Natsume, hello. I am a cat. Sorry? I don't know who Mr. Natsume is, or Hairlock Shomes. I don't know about courts, or trials, or Old Baileys. I am a cat. That's what I am. Just a cat.
Mr. Naruhodo, he's trying to escape from reality.
Trying to? He already has. Completely. So, what's your name again then? What's your name then?
As yet, I have no name. Mr. Naruhodo, he hasn't fully thought out his new identity yet. Maybe it's not too late to bring him back to reality.
Do you think you could open your eyes for us, Mr. Natsume? This poor sir. This poor man. I am not a cat.
It worked. He's back in the real world.
What's going to become of me? No! Don't answer that! It's obvious! My accursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate!
Mr. Natsume, no! This morning's proceedings in court prove that there's hope.
Yes! Locum student Naruhodo, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire was brilliant, but the Reaper is omnipresent in court, in my lodgings, here, there, everywhere. What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss. Oh, yes! Yes, we must! In my whole life, have I ever been so moved as I was today? No! Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just block those out, then today, being in that courtroom was the most moving experience of my life, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! You're too kind.
Scotland Yard found the remaining tea, just as we deduced, and are analyzing it as we speak.
There's nothing wrong with that tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a solemn, sworn, Soseki certainty. Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night? Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath on our bellies.
And at the time, you were both completely fine.
As shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamspear then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim then. That rotten Shamspear! What have I ever done to him? You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've done recently?
I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything at all.
Right.
But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner.
Let you know what, Mr. Natsume?
About the soap, of course. What else?
Oh dear. Are you struggling with such a meager stipend?
Of course I am. If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live in a cursed existence in such accursed lodgings.
Oh yes. You said it was because the place is cursed that it's so cheap, didn't you?
Exactly. Especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who lived there still haunts the place. And it's trying to kill me.
Capital offender?
Might I ask locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire that the next time you visit me, you bring scores of super soft soaps.
Please don't do the coins. Don't do the coin thing, Soseki. Please. Are you talking about this person?
What's this?
It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room.
Ah, so he knew, did he?
Sorry?
About this man, Selden, a convicted killer, and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings.
What?
He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another. A miserable, mustached, much maligned Japanese man.
Mr. Natsume, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit.
The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now. And at the time, he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Garrett's house.
What? He lived where you do now?
That's right, yes. Exactly where I live now. In my very room.
Oh my! Your room was previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of capital offense?
But before his sentence could carry out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's when it started. The curse!
What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Mr. Natsume?
It's already caused one death. A few months after the criminal passed away in prison, a man died in the room. The man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside.
Locked from the inside? Exactly like the case we're dealing with now. So, that's the convict's curse, is it?
Yes! Well, that was the start of it.
Huh. Do you have any idea how the lodger before you passed away, Mr. Natsume?
The official cause of death was asphyxia. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas.
Gas?
I only found that out after I signed the lease. When Mr. Garrett came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I'd probably have been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal.
Lucky for Mr. Garrett, maybe, but not so lucky for poor Mr. Natsume. And now you believe this curse is affecting you?
It is! At first, I just felt as though I was being watched. All the time.
And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you?
The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me. That's just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up, and the room is as cold as ice.
Hi, Arisu. But why is your room so cold?
London's winters are too cold to bear without any heating on overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed at night, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas.
But that's terrible. That's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous occupant's death.
Soseki, I think you need to move out.
And then there's what happened to Mr. Shamspear last night, when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident than can be explained by a curse, though. Whatever can be the cause of all these strange happenings in Mr. Gyarados' rooms? I don't know, but it's getting spooky here. I think we're done talking to you. Is there anything else I need to present? Do I present this? Do I give you this? Hello? Mr. Natsumi, it's nothing much, but okay, nope. Ah, it's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland. Ah, yes, you want a photo. What? You're too kind. I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually. It's so spooky. I think we can go. Let's go to the hospital. I think we can talk to Miss Green now. Or not. Mr. Gyarados then? This case is too spoopy. Okay, Mr. Gyarados is back. Hello, sir. You're here now, Mr. Gyarados. Right, bally business it is for me, you know? Getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey, by any chance? Naturally. Fate of my belongings hanging in the balance and all that. Not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings, or some such. Well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blazes is going on, don't you know?
Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mitsu Natsumi's other trial just 2 days ago, you were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife about what happened.
Stopped off at the prison on the way home, in fact. Beastly business. I see. Oh, sir, you don't have to... Okay, well, he wants to stand. Sir. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? I'm sorry, sir. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet of rum fellows of late. Thanks to that bally curse. The convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here. Then the next chap in the room goes and keels over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside the street. Not to mention the actor yesterday. Am I next, eh? Well, can't help but get the collywobbles, can you? Maybe you should all move out.
When you say the woman who dropped dead outside on the street, do you mean Miss Green?
Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Mr. Shamspear, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so is that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury. I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? By watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up here. Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things. In case there are any mishaps or such like. I think you've had your mishap already, sir. Holmes. That's not helpful, Mr. Sholmes. Heaven forgive me. The words just came to my lips. Speak before he thinks. The lodgers. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? There's no need for that, Mr. Gyarados.
That's right. Mr. Natsumi is in no way fishy.
Maybe skittish. He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone, and he popped up the very same day. Never come across a chap so keen for a place with a background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on so much as the cheap rent, actually.
So, how long has Mr. Shamspear been lodging under your roof?
That failed actor chap? Let me see. Of course. Yes, it's been 3 months now. Quite sure of it. 3 months, huh? Only 3 months. He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Gardev, if I may ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel, as it happens. Selden? The convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shamspear have some kind of connection, then? That convict chap, Selden, passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see? Some lady or other.
Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper at the time.
Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian showed his face. The actor fellow. He's looking for the treasure! Really? Yes, I remember quite distinctly. 'Tis small, this world we inhabit. Pray thee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shamspear, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor offered a while for rent. Terribly sorry and whatnot, but that won't be possible. Already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor room's vacant, though. Nothing can be made out of nothing. Let me repent mine will unto thee. Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor's taken. It's ground floor or nothing.
Very well. We have an accord.
Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briarrow. Lo! A Shamspear dance to celebrate. God. From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in errors with the rent too. Yes, the fellow was a bally player, right? Thank you for your candor, Mr. Gardev. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe. Put on my crown. I have immortal lodgings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines. I wish to evolve my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines then. Thanks for dropping Shakespeare facts in the chat, Dixity. I appreciate it. I need to give him a picture now. Mr. Gardev, could I ask you to look at this photograph? Is that your son who's with you there? Oh, no, not at all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. Duncan Ross. I think that was his name in the Japanese version too. A street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really.
Was he by any chance the lodger before Mitsuru Natsume?
Yes, that's right. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Mustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? The lodger's death? Yes, Duncan Ross. Young chap was attending art school. Had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor room about a year ago, after that criminal Selden was arrested. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. A history of cheap rent, maybe, yes. Yes, well, anyway, it was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers are up to at the time. So sadly, I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. Smell of gas that alerted me it was. Ah yes, synonymous with the smell of death.
Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. But once we got inside, we all bally collapsed.
Because of the gas?
Yes, the room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed.
So Mr. Ross suffocated to death.
Oof, horrible way to go. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house.
But even after you had all that work done, Mr. Natsume says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night while he's asleep in bed.
Well, that's the bally curse! The convict's curse. I've done my duty as a landlord now.
Someone's feeling defensive.
Ah, that reminds me, actually.
Yes?
About young Duncan, the night before the poor chap perished. He'd been writing a letter of affection to a young lady.
A love letter, you mean?
Yes, where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. Left it on my desk. If you'll excuse me. Let me see now. What does it say?
Sholmes, that's not your... To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence?
My dear Miss Susato, that is precisely why I prefaced my reading with, if you excuse me.
I will not excuse you, Mr. Sholmes. No.
Sadly, he didn't address it, though. So I have no means of delivering the thing. Rather sad, really.
I see. That's gonna play on my mind. I think I already know who it belongs to. But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave it well alone.
I hate to break it to you, Susato, but it definitely has something to do with the case.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing.
However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart. Mr. Sholmes, please, I've already had to chastise you about this once.
Because you don't want to take him down? My undying love to you, my colorful darling. Olive Green.
Olive Green? The woman who was plunged into a coma after a knife plunged into her back? Outside this house 5 days ago.
That needs a comma.
The victim of the last case of Seki-san was in court for, who regained consciousness only yesterday. Is it just chance that her name has come up now? Could it possibly be a mere coincidence? Mr. Naruhodo, whatever can this mean?
Reading personal correspondence can have its merits, you see, Mr. Sato.
Sherlock! Please!
Oh, I'm gonna... 1 second.
This whole case is cursed. Okay, well, now we know where we can go. And there's an acolyte waiting for me in this hospital. Fair warning, things are about to get really depressing in here. Very depressing subject. 22nd February, St. Bartholomew's Hospital, Recovery Ward. Mr. Naruhodo, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems Miss Green is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before we... What is it? Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back.
One moment. I'll be with you in a jiffy.
Honey, what is that bottle?
Oh, hello everyone. What are you all doing here? The doctor has said I can be discharged, so I was just getting my things together.
Miss Green, what were you just doing?
Oh, nothing, really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed to me, that's all.
Well, we were hoping to have another quick chat with you, if that's alright.
I don't really have anything else to tell you.
Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can't coax something out of her. But before we do that, I believe examining this bottle before something happens gives you an Accolade. This is the bottle that Miss Green was just about to drink when we arrived.
Yes, she looked rather preoccupied, didn't she?
Perhaps it's very bitter. I can't stand bitter medicine.
I suppose that could be it.
In fact, whenever a doctor prescribes me medicine for a number of days, I always take it all at... That's not how medicine works, Naruhodo!
Oh no!
Well, if you have to take something you don't like, it's best to get it all out of the way in one go, isn't it?
Oh dear. And I thought it was Miss Green I should be worrying about at the moment.
Down in one! This is the card that Miss Green was looking at so intently before, isn't it?
Mr. Naruhodo, we shouldn't be peeking at a young woman's private effects.
Right. I should say peeking for gentlemen's effects only.
You mustn't do that either.
And maybe you, Mrs. Sato, shouldn't be peeking into a young man's mind either,
No. A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo! An enormous mouse!
Huh. Vermin in a hospital. That doesn't seem the best.
But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump.
I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. What an achievement, though. God. Okay. Let's talk to Miss Green. It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green.
Oh, yes. I mean, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space. Not people like me, anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably should stand around and chat.
She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure. Did I not receive the letter? Oh, I never received the letter? Okay, well, Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you? Oh. Oh no, I'm so sorry. The bottle of medicine fell down when she did.
Miss Green, are you alright?
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you like that.
No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan?
Mr. Ross has been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter to you.
It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan. A year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist one day.
And the two of you became romantically involved?
Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room to save money for the wedding.
And that's what led him to Mr. Garrett's.
Yes, he told me he found the worst, but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened.
We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green.
Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose.
Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad. I was starting to think that's just her look. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her.
I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but Would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon.
The mouse is gone. Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we'll be on our way. Mr. Naruhodo! Surely you were not about to leave. That's quite out of the question. What? Mr. Sholmes, I didn't realize you were here. But of course I was, my dear fellow. Watching intently from the shadows, as always. Well, make your presence known next time.
Mr. Sholmes, what's this about?
Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Miss Susato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened, instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart. What do you mean? There is a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. So let us avert disaster. Let us prevent this case from ever happening, with nothing but careful observation. All right. All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look, and you cannot fail to see. You can do it, Mr. Naruhodo. I know you can. It is literally glaring us in the face what's going on. Glaring us in the face. Right here. That mouse seems to be dead. Look, I didn't notice it there before, did you?
I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was about to drink from when we arrived.
You don't think... Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of this scene. That of a tragedy about to take place. Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before has spilled out on the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. I think it's clear that the bottle must have contained a powerful poison.
Don't worry. I will attend to the mouse presently.
Wow, thanks for caring for the mouse. Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Once we'd left, you would have put it on your lips again, wouldn't you? And taken the poison?
No! Miss Green, please! Please talk to us!
Ooh. 10 seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green.
Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted.
Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine?
Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out when he wasn't looking.
It conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains.
I'm afraid I don't really know. But I thought if I drank it, it might just stop the pain somehow. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things.
Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison.
Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no. Oh, it's so my fault. What have I done?
I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objections.
No, none.
Was there anything else I have to do? There's nothing else here. I don't know what else I'm supposed to present, if there's anything I need to present.
The aesthetics are all wrong.
Is it so wrong that I feel so thoroughly rejected? I don't know if there's anything else I need to give here. Or are we really supposed to leave her now? That feels weird that we just, that's it. That's really it then. Huh. I don't know, it just feels kind of hanging, you know, what we talked about, and there's nothing else. Wait. This letter. Okay. It definitely feels as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand in what can only be described as a very tense atmosphere.
Yes. It may very well be related to whatever incident Mr. Sholmes believed was about to happen here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green about it.
That cut is interesting.
Neither the sender's name or address appears to be written on the envelope or the card. It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in the hospital here.
I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Wait a minute. The 17th of this month? That's the day you were stabbed on Briar Road.
And 5 p.m.
is precisely the time when the incident occurred. The Slug and Salad, yes, a pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road being the street that Mr. Garrett's house is on.
Does this mean that... Yes, I'm sure you've guessed. That day when I was struck in the back by the knife, I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. Goodness!
So that's what you were doing on Briar Road that day.
I'm sorry I didn't say anything before.
God, this poor woman.
I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything.
Yes, I'm very sorry to have dragged up such painful memories for you.
No, it's fine.
Is it though?
Miss Green, please, promise us you won't try to do anything like that again. Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I've been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison, and I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but, well, that's how all this has made me feel.
God, I want to hug her too. Leaving Miss Green and St. Bartholomew's behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Sholmes. Briar Road at night! Well, it would appear we've reached the end of the investigative trail for today. Yes, it's late. And Mr. Naruhodo, did you discover anything that may be of use to you in court tomorrow, do you think? details about Mr. Shamspear, Mr. Garrett's lodgings, the convict Selden. There are many facets to this case, and we're yet to see to the heart of it, if you ask me. That's my feeling, anyway.
I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis.
Into Mr. Natsumi's tea, you mean?
Yes. Will they have found strychnine in it or not?
Well, I feel that either way, it'll be hard to escape the grip of our friend Mr. Reaper.
Oh dear.
Yes, Baroque Van Zeeks.
But I wish you every success, of course. And though I was late to rise this morning, tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at a crisp hour and attend the trial.
Mr. Sholmes, you're going to come?
Indeed, whatever happens, I shall be there. Assuming my eyelids cooperate in the morning.
Well, I think we've done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting for Mr. Natsumi's cause until the very end. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to 6 million people. But away from the razzle-dazzle, down back alleys and behind bricked-up windows, the lonely lurk. Soseki-san had battled long and hard with loneliness during his many months here. So I felt honor-bound to battle equally hard for my compatriot, to lift the curse that gripped him. As Mr. Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn, for all of us. To be continued. I'm not starting this trial. It is 11 o'clock. We are definitely going to land in like 1 in the morning, and I don't want that.